Well, this subscriber asked, is it possible to have a video showing how to use thicker paint for texture, particularly in grasses, in an Alla Prima method, not painting over dry layers? And then he or she added, I'm thinking particularly of the work of, now I can't pronounce this name, it's a Ukrainian name, Denise Gorodnichi, is that right? Gorodnichi. Anyway, somebody knows, somebody can tell me how to pronounce it. Uh, anyway, this is something we can do. If you're interested in the technique of a current artist, your best bet is to find out from that artist somehow, either if you can find a YouTube video or some other kind of instruction, to find out exactly what that artist's technique is. So what I'm going to show you is what I know works as a technique for painting thickly. And the word we use for that is impasto. That's the word for painting thickly, or using thick paint to paint with. And what I've discovered is that if you really want to paint thickly, it's better to do palette knife painting, but you can paint thickly with brush painting. So I'm going to start out with a palette knife painting, show you a little process that I know works, and it is Alla Prima. So we're not building wet layers on top of dry layers. We're just starting Alla Prima, and we're going to build the thing Alla Prima. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Now, I found some samples of this artist's work. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Denise Gorodnichi? Something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I did find lots and lots and lots of samples of his work, because this person requested particularly grasses. That's what I was looking for, and I took sections where we have grasses right here, different kind of grass than we have right here, and even that, a different kind of grass than we have right here. 3 different ways this artist interprets grasses. Well, the method I'm going to show you, the only thing that will be different will be the colors that you choose and the strokes that you use, the kind of strokes that you use. I'm going to choose this one because it's going to enable the quick tip not to go on forever and ever, ever. Like one of these would take a little bit more time. All right, so let's see what we can do. Now, if you're painting with palette knife, starting the painting with a palette knife is a good way to go. Some people will put the first layer of paint on with a brush, and some will use a palette knife. I'm just going to start the whole thing with a palette knife and show you. Now, this is a wonderful palette knife for doing the first layer of paint that goes on the canvas, because it's so wide. And you can find these on the internet, just on any of the paint supply stores. So go into your paint supply store, which would be even better. And just look at the palette knives and get something that has the trowel, a trowel palette knife, not a flat one like this. This is an old one. Where's the other one? There it is. So you see, that's flat. You don't get the leverage with this kind of palette knife without that trowel, did I say that right? As you get with this one. So this is preferable for palette knives, to have this ability to be able to better manipulate the knife itself. You can go flat like this with this one. Makes it a little difficult if you try to go flat with this one. You see what I'm talking about? All right. So first thing I'm going to do, now I know how I approach this the same way I approach all painting. Where are the shadows? Where are the lights? And really, this seems like it's under an overcast sky, so we don't have really strong shadows and strong lights. But squint, and when you squint, you can see patterns here or where it's darker, and patterns where it's lighter. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to start with that darker color, which is, I find, works much better, especially with palette knife painting. or with thick painting, if you start with the darker colors and build dark to light, it enables you to get your colors more clear, more crispy. And so I'm going to do that. Now, I've just put some colors out here that I know I can get with that. And, I usually will do a value line of each value. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to go directly in to the paint. Now, first of all, I see that the green there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down. This is actually ultramarine blue. Now you could just, if you had sap green, that would be a good color to use. I would not recommend phthalo green because has a strong tinting strength, and it's just going to take over everything you do and bleed through it. So you get more control if you use a green that, a green that's either that you mix or one like sap green that doesn't have that strong tinting strength. What I'm going to do is I've got some yellow orange here, and that yellow orange ultramarine blue it's really just a blue, but I'm going to make my own green here since it's dark. And so what I'll do is I'll put some yellow orange in here. Now I can do that. You see, because the strength of the color, the strength of the tube color of the dark is dark. We require more light to go into light and dark than it does require dark to go over light. And what I'm going to do there, I'm going to pull this down like this, and I'm going to load. I see what I did. I just mixed enough of the yellow orange. Yellow orange produces a green, yellow green that is not quite as intense. It's less saturated in hue than a really bright green. We don't see any saturation. We see low saturation all the way across. So see, if I hold that next to hold that on the palette next to the painting, and I can see that will be a good color to start with. So what I'm going to do there now, I'm probably going to take more than that because I really want to make this thick to show you how this can work. So we'll just mix a good pile of that yellow green. Now I like that. I like the idea. I've done it for a long time of referring to the colors the colors you're mixing by their hue names, not by their tube names. The hue names tells you what's there, what's in it, what it will do. The hue name does. The tube names just tells you what came out of the tube. It may or may not tell you what it can do unless you have had enough experience with it that you know what it will do. Now I will pull off that excess and then load that after I pull it sort of flat like that. I load that palette knife according to how much paint I want to go down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the bottom of the palette knife, not the side. I'm going to use the bottom, kind of like we use an iron. I'm just going to roll that paint up, you see, like that. And what I'm going to do is to come in those areas where I'm going to make just a very small little piece here. I started about right here. Now just come in and just slide those over. You see how I can do that? You see the direction of that movement? So if I just slide my palette knife over in the direction of that movement and catch that the dark that I'm seeing there, I'll do the same thing right here. And they'll say that this part right here would be the bottom of what we're looking at there. And then I'm going to glide over some other areas. We have an area, I believe that doesn't have quite so much of that dark in it, but we do right here. And so I'll just turn the palette knife like this and pull it up like that, and just glide that paint on. And as usual, it will be a shorter, quick tip if I don't try to do the whole thing. So I'm just going to do just a portion of it here to show you. Now, then I begin to see the oranges and the yellow oranges, red oranges and yellow oranges. I see there. All right, so I've got a red orange here. This particular color is the Daniel Smith quinacridone orange. It's a red orange. And so I'm going to pull a good bit of it down like that. And this particular color is one I rarely use. I used to use it a lot, but it's the Rembrandt Yellow Ochre Light. The reason I don't use it is because it's so easy to make it by using the Rembrandt Yellow, Cadmium Yellow Deep. That's this color right here. But you see, this is much more saturated than this. And because that's a desaturated color, that's the reason I'm going ahead with the palette knife and using that. I have here a Cadmium Yellow Deep made by, was it Gamblin, I think. Cadmium Yellow Deep. And the reason I put that on the palette is that it's more saturated. It gives me an opportunity to do a little more, a deeper, or more of the saturation in those little light parts. All right, so let's see what happens here. Now I want some of the red orange I'm seeing here. I'm going to keep that relatively dark, but not as dark as the first color I made. So I'll just pull some of this yellow orange here into the red orange and see just kind of raise the value in color. Now I may just leave some of that kind of unmixed. You see that? That would, see there? That's just sort of unmixed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring it right over here, and with one fell swoop, and this time I'm just going to kind of move it like this and let that paint just float on, sort of where I see it there. And I want to keep that stroke moving this way because I see that moving in that direction. That way let some of it overlap. But you can have, you see, if you use the back of the flat palette knife flat like that, you can lay the color, wet color, right on top of the other wet color, no matter how thick the paint is. You can still do that. It's a kind of a scumble. If you think of the definition of scumble, meaning that you're painting one color on top of another, which is, I think, the traditional definition. So again, I'm not going to mix it very well. I'm going to pull that down so I can get a little bit more on the palette knife. I'm just going to kind of 2/3 mix those two, and then let's see, let's come over here. And now I'm not going to try to do that exactly random as I see it there, but I'm giving you an idea. You move your tool in the direction that you see the images moving. All images have a visual movement. We call it directional movement. Now I'm just going to go and start right down here. I'm just going to put that color in and bring it up like that. And so you just bring your palette knife up, lay it down. I have it about, tilting away from the canvas just a little bit, just enough for the paint to go on, and just give it that upward stroke. And don't stroke over and over again. If you stroke over and over like that, you get your paint muddy. So to get a really clear color, keep really clear color, the best thing to do is to take decide what the color is there. Find the color that you see there, or that you know is going to be there, and mix that and put it down. Just put it and get out of there. Best advice I could ever give you. All right, so here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm raising the value now of that because I see the value getting a little bit stronger right here. What I'm going to do is lay a little foundation. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm simply laying a foundation for what I see in there, the stuff that's behind what we see. So if you lay a foundation of really clear, non-muddied color, really clear, meaning that you can tell what color. You look at it, you can identify the color. If you can't identify the color, you probably have made it muddy. And okay, let's see now. Now I'm using that upward stroke. See how thick that's going on? Using that upward stroke, bring it down into here. Don't want to kill that dark, but I do want to. I'm beginning now to pull those strokes down into that dark. You see, so that we can get that that visual mixture. And as I move across here, I'm adding a little bit more of that mixture. And you see what we do here? You can just pull it down, push it up, pull it down, push it up, pull it down. And you get, because that is the direction that you see those moving. And what I'm building now is the value behind that. And I hope the camera's picking up the texture of that. So just give me a wonderful, wonderful texture. So let's just build that on now. Just consider this part, the part that I'm going to be working on, build a little bit more in the green now. And I'll just let that kind of mix with that green that's underneath it and bring it on out. So we see, now you begin to see a little bit of the green come through, and bring that on out like that. And then just moving up and down, let the palette knife move up and down, and tilt it just enough for the paint to go on. And so you can imagine we could build it all the way back like that. Now, to put the final layer, I'm going to wipe this out. You can't worry about wasting paint. There's no such thing as wasting paint when you're doing a good painting. You waste the paint if you're trying to, or you waste the painting if you're trying not to waste the paint. So get out, if you've got that attitude, you got to get over it because it's only going to cause you trouble. All right, so let's see, I need this back down. Now I'm going to pull a little bit now of this. I'll get this sort of mixed, not totally mixed, just enough so that I can get those three colors combined. And I'll just come down in here now and do this upward stroke like that. And see there? Just allow the palette knife itself, the way you move it, to make the strokes. Now see, it's sort of crooked. I can correct that. I don't mind that it's kind of crooked because it's just a demonstration. But, you know, it might bother somebody if it's crooked down there. And just assume that it would continue to go there, up there. Now to finish it, now I want that value and color that I'm seeing right there. And I'll need to reach for white for this. I haven't reached for white so far. Building that the bottom layer of paint without white. If you try to use white initially, it might get muddy, and so I think it gives you a richer color when you don't use white. So now that I don't need these anymore, at least for this demonstration, I'm going to pull white over here. Now, if I mix this part, these two, and some of that blue into it, and well, this might give it to, no, I'm going to have to mix some of that blue into it. And what I'm going to get is I'm going to get, let's say probably a little too much blue, and I'll get back in here. I just want a big pile of this. I'm going to get, there we go, there we go. You see that kind of muddy green? See, that's what I was going for. Right there, all right? Now, I'll put the green in first because it looks to me as if the more yellow orange, those really desaturated yellow oranges, which you might call yellow ochre, but that means nothing to me. They seem to be on top. Those, if we were looking at that as brush strokes, these seem to be on top of the green stuff and the orange stuff in most places. So what I'll do is I'll start at the top, because what's in front as it goes down is overlapping stuff that's in the background, which is a good policy for when you're working textures of grass or leaves or whatever that you're looking at going into a distance, even if it's a short distance. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'll go with the green first, and then I'll mix that orange color, and you'll see what I'm talking about, I hope. So let's see, do I need to wipe off the palette? And probably wouldn't hurt, just to get a good start on that. All right, so this is the green, and let's see, yep, that's it. See there? Okay, so I'm going to just pull that in and use the strokes, use the directional movement that I see right there. Now, where is that green? Let's see some green right back here. See, just let those strokes, there we go. Let those strokes just come off the edge of the palette knife. Now we're going from using the flat side of the palette knife to using just the edge of it. So just do this and do that and that. And I'm working more in the background first. And get that in. And be sure when you're doing that sort of thing, double check that you're not just going in the same direction all the time, because then it's going to look hokey. It's going to not be interesting. It's going to be boring. So varying that direction in which those strokes move is your best friend. All right, so I think maybe that might be enough of that. Now let's go for the light. And there I got to go over here. I'm going into this pile of white right here. I may need may need more. I'm going to get more just in case. All right, we get that pile of white. Wipe off the palette knife. Now, I want to, first of all, we'll start with this higher saturated yellow orange, and I want to mix that in there first. I'm going to get the value and the higher intensity than I actually see. So I'm going to get the value of that first, and I'll get that relatively mixed. Let's see, is that this? Okay, by the time I put it on that, this value will probably work. All right, now what we know about yellow orange, or about creating a yellow orange, is that yellow orange has, here we go, right here, color wheel. Always go to the color wheel. There's yellow orange, and this yellow orange is a yellow orange that leans more towards yellow. See right here, you see it leans a little bit more towards yellow, and so we know that a blue violet will do that. We'll get it less saturated. And you might say, well, you don't have a blue violet. Well, I have potential. Look here, I have blue, which I have right here. I think I'll just go right up here with that. Now, this is red orange. Hear what I said? Red orange. Red orange has red in it. And red orange also has yellow in it. That has yellow in it too. So if I am careful and strategic, I can use a combination of this into this blue and desaturate that color. Let's see if I can do it. Now here's the way. Let me get it really desaturated first of all. Now I'm really going to get a mess up here. Okay, good. I get that sort of. There we go. Now I want to get it. I want to get a color or value of this that is in the value range of that. So I'll pull this off. I'll pull a bit of this, and I think I'll put it over here since I'm working over here. And I'll pull some white down, and I'll begin to work it. This is the key to desaturating. One key. When you've got color too bright, you need to desaturate it. Get the values right first. See, I've got that ends up being kind of a neutral, what I just did there, which makes sense. Now let's see, let's take a little bit of that and let's work into the edge down here. And let's see if that doesn't give us what we need. I believe it does. We can see it doesn't take much, but if you mix this, change the value of that's called value correcting, then that's pretty close. Look at that. I'm gonna put a little bit more of this yellow orange into it here, and now I can just work that. I don't want to get the whole thing thoroughly mixed. Let's check it out. It needs a little bit more of this. It's kind of reddish. Just put that right there. I want to get it a little darker. There we go. I'll just pull a little bit more of this into it. I'm going to darken that just a little bit. I get some variation there of that color. Let's see what I got now. Pretty close, don't you think? So here's what we'll do. I'm going to switch palette knives now. I've done the major work with this big one. I'm going to switch palette knives to one that gives me a little bit more control. My favorite one is this one because it's got all this flexibility here. But if I really need to go really, really small and sharp on the edges, I can go with this one. I don't like this one quite as much because it doesn't have the tip is not as flexible, you see, as this tip is. If you have a flexible tip, it gives you more lively strokes. So I'm going to go with this one. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start in the back, and I'm going to load it just in this area right here, just in the area where I can have a shorter stroke. For right back here, I'm just going to lay it on top and move it up. I need a paper towel. Because every time I do this, it's also going to pick up paint. I'm going to just lay it flat like that and pull it up. You begin to see what's happening there. See there? Lay it flat and pull it up. And keep doing that. Lay it flat and pull it up. Let's put different kind of strokes. Just lay the strokes on. Pull that up here. Lay the strokes on. I think what I'll do, I'm going to leave this part unfinished, maybe for the sake of the time on your quick tip. Because I know you're dying now to get to your paint and palette knife and do this. Okay, let's just do it this way. Let's load both sides of the palette knife. And now I'm going to go to the next layer and make a longer stroke. See there? Just wipe off just the dark I picked up. If you don't wipe off the dark that you pick up, it's just going to get muddy. You lose that brilliance. You lose the bright of the white. Okay, that goes this way. It goes that way. See there? Those grasses do. And so every time, check the colors that you're picking up. Be sure that you're picking up what you want. And pull it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. You see how this begins now to give us the idea of grass, or the impression, or the expression is a better word, I guess, of grass with really, really thick paint. And you can do that. You can do that just by the way you hold the palette knife and by the way you load it and the way you hold it here. If you just turn it a little bit and don't push hard, just push lightly and move it in the direction that you see this moving, it will give you that. A little bit more. And let's see, let's go down here and just sort of, let's give some longer ones down here now. Move them this way, this way, that way. Okay, that began to get a little bit, it was mixing a bit much. I'll come back and get a fresh one. Smooth it up. Cross it. Move it more. Cross it. Move it more. Cross it. And you see, you can get really, really thick paint that way. Now, one other last thing I'll show you that you can do. I'm going to do something like this right here and get a big stroke that goes this way, that way, big stroke that goes that way. You can cut into that. Let's do this. Let's do that. That's kind of a neat idea. Let's show you what I'm talking about just a moment. There. All right. Now, you can, if you like, I think I'll use another palette knife for that one. I'll pick up this is an old one. That tip is pretty sharp. This is an old one that goes back into, I think, the 60s. But you can do this sort of thing where you pull the paint. See, you pull back into the darker colors of paint. See there? Like that. And if you overdo that, of course, it's going to look hokey. But you can do that too. And that gives you much more live. And this is a very sharp point on the end of this one. So it gives you a more lively expression of what you're trying to do. So if you get started that, just follow that sequence of when you're doing the grasses, the dark first, then build it gradually, next value first, next value second, one on top of the other. And remember that if you hold that palette knife, hold that palette knife to put it flat on the canvas, you hold that palette knife like an iron, flat, but don't squeeze it because it just scrapes it off. But allow it to sort of just hover and kind of whisper over the canvas like that. And then to put it on the thicker strokes, you want to put a little bit more angle on the palette knife. I guess you can see a little bit more angle. Push up, push out, push in whatever direction. The paint will flow right off the edge of the palette knife right there and go onto the canvas. And keep going. So I think you'll find that a lot of fun, especially if you've never painted with palette knives before. Give it a try and leave a comment below and let me know how it worked. Be sure and view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DyingMinds.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.